In any kind of anime franchise, we feel a certain kinship with animal-type fighters, because in many ways, they show us that the human spirit can extend to creatures that weren't human. Maria Renard used to be one such person. Her use of her sacred beast was so gentle yet assertive that she felt more like a mother than a fighter. Yet in the second season of Nocturne, she turned into a killer, sort of, because of her power. This complete 180 in her characterization made us wonder whether Maria's power is connected to Old Man Coyote, the new antagonist of the franchise. In this video, we'll take a look at that possibility and discuss why it might just be true, even if only by a slim margin. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. They're symbols that represent the elements of the world. Maria's 4 sacred beasts explained. In the anime, Maria's technique hasn't been given a proper name yet. All we know about it is that she uses it to summon creatures from another world, and her emotions form the basis of the bond that she needs to establish in order to control them. This technique was first introduced in 1993's Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which, interestingly enough, calls her familiars the 4 sacred beasts. The white tiger is called Byakko, and the vermilion birds are called Suzaku. The black turtle is called Genbu, and the azure dragon we see her commanding toward the end of Season 2 is called Seiryu. In the games, Maria has full control over all 4 of these creatures, and they serve as her primary means of engaging people in battle. In the show, she can also do speaker magic, which enhances her combat ability. But the game balances that out by giving us the dragon without the harrowing character development. Now, the reason we call this selection of animals interesting is because they coincide with the 4 sacred animals of Chinese mythology. The azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black turtle are related to things like the cardinal directions, natural elements, constellations, and a bunch of astrological and spiritual beliefs. They represent the cornerstone of many schools of Chinese philosophy and are basically considered to be holy animals. Constellation groups are named after them. Wuxing symbols are assigned to them. And what we're trying to say here is that these sacred beasts pervade Chinese mythology and culture. Yes, it's a little weird that the game's developers decided to give us such an East-oriented skill to a Western character like Maria, but it fits the gameplay of Rondo of Blood, so we don't really question it. Where it becomes questionable is in the anime, because we're told that Maria is summoning her creatures from another dimension right from the beginning. Whenever she draws a summoning circle, her energy glows bright yellow, like holy light spilling forth from her very being. Her beasts appear angelic almost, when she isn't using them to kill someone. If they are the 4 sacred beasts from Chinese mythology in the show as well, then the only place she could be summoning them from is heaven, or an alternate dimension that looks a lot like it. We already know that the alternate realms are a thing in the anime universe, thanks to the confirmation of the Infinite Corridor's existence. In the last couple of seasons of Castlevania, we're introduced to the Infinite Corridor, which is like the Bifrost, except 1,000 times more powerful. The Bifrost only connects 9 realms, but the Infinite Corridor, as its name suggests, connects endless realms together. Finding an opening to it is next to impossible, and navigating through it is even worse. But the toughest task is unlocking the door to the corridor. The only way to do that from scratch is to use a key from a godlike entity like Death, and that's never going to happen again, considering Death is, well, dead. But in theory, if one could navigate the corridor properly, they can access both heaven and hell, which is what Saint Germain tries to do in the final season of Castlevania. He aims to use the Infinite Corridor to stuff the souls of Dracula and Lisa within Rebus, but Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard stop him before they can do that, and they seal the corridor for good. Or at least that's what we thought, until it sort of reappeared in Season 2 thanks to Annette's special powers. Her ability to commune with the spirit world and traverse through it by entering a trance takes place in an environment that has the same turquoise and pink hues as the corridor, which, in Maria's context, can only mean one thing. When she uses her power, she accesses a heavenly domain, from which her beloved birds, tiger, and turtle emerge. The dragon was conspicuously missing from her repertoire in Season 1, so we figured that showrunners just wanted to give it a dynamic entrance. They did that, but not in the way we expected, because the implication is that Maria's dragon originates from a place of darkness, and that's where the Old Man Coyote figures into things. Is she calling creatures from hell? How Maria's dark summons might be related to Old Man Coyote. After learning about her father's betrayal and experiencing the immense power gap between herself and Elizabeth, Maria was lost. She didn't know how to reconcile the fact that her mother was now a vampire, or that her village priest had been her father all this time. Abbott tried sacrificing her as part of his deal with Elizabeth, but even though Tara filled in for her, Maria still couldn't forgive him. She wanted revenge for the consequences of his actions. So when Tara returns to her daughter as a vampire and encourages her to embrace the dark side, side, we're immediately suspicious of her, suggesting violence that ends in death is extremely unlike Terra. But she does it because she wants revenge as well, and also because she's under the influence of someone else. When Maria sits with her mother in the woods, sulking about her life, she draws a summoning circle, and instead of her usual yellow, it's a pitch dark abyss. From the darkness crawls out a scorpion with many angry eyes, and she questions where she pulls these creatures from in her rage. Terra doesn't answer her question, and instead redirects her toward learning how to master the darkness by having her summon and tame a massive wolf. This wolf is much larger than her tiger, and far more feral. If you ask us, we think it's supposed to be Fenrir, the son of Loki, who's supposed to kill Odin during Ragnarok. We've established how trickster gods are looked at as devilish figures in Castlevania, and Loki is the closest thing to the devil in Norse mythology. Maria is afraid of the wolf at first, but once she embraces her own feral and violent side, she's able to tame it, which makes Terra flash a fiendish smile. Before she can take things any further, Just arrives and breaks up her training, which seems to snap her out of a trance. He berates Terra for being a terrible mother for trying to turn her daughter into a monster like herself, and Terra seems apologetic. She begs Just to save her daughter from herself because she realizes what she's done. They rush over to Mashkul's church because they realize Maria's given them the slip and is going to kill her father, and what they witness there is terrifying to say the least. The young witch starts summoning bat-like familiars to deal with Abbott's low-level night creatures, while her wolf took care of the generals. She screamed at her father in rage because she couldn't believe that after everything that had happened, he let Elizabeth turn Terra into a vampire. She called him a coward and a hypocrite, and was seemingly possessed by a dark entity in her rage. Just arrived just in time to see her summon the last of the 4 sacred beasts, the Azure Dragon. This fire-breathing menace climbs out of the abyss like the monster of a unit that it is, and proceeds to roast Abbott in accordance with Maria's wishes. Once the deed is done, she collapses, overwhelmed by emotions, and her mother stops to admire her handiwork. Terra had been silently dispatching night creatures while she observed Maria's revenge, and it once again brought that eerie look of glee to her face. Before the Abbott's corpse stopped smoking, Old Man Coyote showed up and took charge of his body, sending it down a portal that looked eerily familiar. Before we get the time to dissect it, the dragon turned on Maria, and Terra and Just had to step in to protect her, which made it stand down. Once they left the church, Maria, feeling depressed and jaded, asked Terra to convert her so she never lost a parent again. It seemed like because of her recent awakening as a vampire, Terra had been unable to control her bloodlust, but Just stepped in once again and she snapped back to her normal self once more. Terra ran away from her daughter because she realized she wasn't in control of herself, and the ending of Nocturne proved her right. After defeating Elizabeth Bathory, Alucard, Just, and Maria were observing the execution of Louis the Last, followed by Elizabeth's other aristocratic sympathizers. Maria remarks that she was glad the revolutionaries were doing this, because that's what vampire allies deserved. She's completely on board with exterminating vampires at the end of Nocturne. But far away in the crowd, we see Terra also observing the execution, with Old Man Coyote lurking behind her. Before the battle with Elizabeth, Maria has a moment where she opens a portal to the abyss and just stares at it, as if she's thinking about going to the other side. But Just helps her realize that as long as there was joy in the world, life was worth living, and by aiding her in reconnecting with her good side, he brings the light back to Maria's magic. The Fenrir wolf goes back to being the white tiger, and as an added bonus, the Azure Dragon remains as her summoning. Only this time, it's tamed by her fiery conviction to burn evil from this world. All this is well and good, but the fact remains that Maria still doesn't know where her beasts come from, and if the portal that Old Man Coyote sent Abbott's body through is connected to her magic in her angry state, that means her dark beasts come from hell. This fits our theory that Old Man Coyote is supposed to be the devil, and you can check out more on that in our standalone video on that character. But if he is, then it makes total sense that under his influence, Terra teaches her daughter how to open the gates of hell, and Fenrir's wolf is actually a hellhound. With Death, Dracula, and now Sekhmet out of his reach, the Coyote will need some other way to overrun the forces of humanity with demons and beasts from hell. Maybe Maria is unconsciously accessing the infinite corridor and bringing creatures to Earth based on what side of her moral compass her current emotions fall on. Capturing Maria with Terra and forcing her to use her powers to summon every demon she can find will be one of the most effective and terrifying ways to do it, if hell is indeed where Maria pulls her dark creatures from. It most likely is, considering her 4 beasts are sacred to the Chinese. To her, magic's destination seems to be connected to her own morality. When Maria is good, she draws on the power of good and fights to win, but when she's feeling malevolent, she draws on the power of evil and fights to kill, no matter whether the enemy is armed or not. This kind of emotion is fitting for hell, which is why we think her power might be connected to the Old Man Coyote, and why she might be in major trouble. She's traveling with Just and Alucard now, looking to win the revolution with her countrymen, but she has vowed to put an end to vampires, and that includes her mother. She's bound to meet Coyote if Terra and her fates are intertwined, and then we'll really find out where her dark creatures come from. Until then, you know what we think, and we want to know what you think, because Marvelous verdict. That's all we've got for you on this topic. Maria Renard is one of the most interesting characters from Castlevania Nocturne, and we don't want her potential romance with Alucard to overshadow the fact that her power can end up playing a massive role in the future of the franchise. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Castlevania content. We'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, please remember, protect your necks.